I am terrified of the generation that has been raised by red pill podcasts and TikTok. Y'all are quite literally completely delusional. You completely objectify women and you look at us as disposable after 30. And then on top of that, unfortunately, there are women that are subjugating themselves to these men that just do not have any type of real consideration or love for them. And I am just so sorry for this generation of women and these types of men that you have to deal with. I mean, I am appalled. I am so fortunate to be with a man that doesn't think like these men, but holy
yippity yap, yippity yap. Your shaming tactics don't work on men.
Of helping when inconvenienced because they have been conditioned to live in a world where everything exists for their convenience. Meaning that you can bend over backwards for them not to be inconvenienced 7 or 8 times. The 9th time when they have to do something they don't want to do, they're going to say, what about me? They have never considered the level of inconvenience that you have gone through where it's absolutely necessary for them to be inconvenienced because they didn't see any of the inconvenience you've experienced up until this point. Girlfriends, wives, kids, even the power structure all exist to make their life more convenient. They are trained to find a wife who does for you so that your life can be more convenient. Find kids that look good and make you look like a family man because being a family man is valued and therefore makes your life more convenient. On the other hand, women and children are socialized to struggle in silence, to suffer in silence. Therefore, those 7, 8, 9 times where you were inconvenienced, you didn't say, oh, this is inconvenient for me. You said happy to help. And so it never occurred to them that it was inconvenient for you. And what would it look like if you said, this is inconvenient for me? I don't want to do it, but I will do it for you. Or if you bring up in retrospect all of the times that you were inconvenienced, the man will probably meet you with something like, well, why didn't you say anything? Not at all being cognizant of the fact that like you are half of this marriage. This is your child. Like a lot of this weight should be on you, but it's solely falling on me because you don't have to be inconvenienced to even think about what is or is not convenient for other people because everybody sort of seems to be just revolving around you, especially depending on the type of mother these men have. And I would elaborate, but I feel like the people who know what I'm saying know exactly what I'm saying. Therefore, I'd only be elaborating for men, and I have to be somewhere in 9 minutes, and being late is not convenient.
So you're not really talking about anything important. You're just wanting validation is, I think, what I hear. Yeah.
That guy was one of probably the nicest guys I've ever been on a date with. He touched me a couple times. He asked me about my dog, and I started crying, and he like grabbed my hand. And that felt really nice. I felt kind of comforted by him and I felt like I was in the presence of a really quality person, but I just didn't feel any romantic spark. We had this nice hug at the end. It was like, yeah, it was just a really nice hug. I was like, oh, I needed a hug. I think I'm in my luteal phase because there was another time, I can't remember what we were talking about, and I almost started crying again, sitting there talking to him. I was able to keep it in because I didn't want to make him feel like I'm a crazy crying lady, even though I probably am a crazy crying lady. So I think I must be in my luteal phase. I don't really know what that means, to be honest. But that's what people say on my videos when I'm crying. They say, oh, you're in your luteal. Well, the men say, oh, who's this crazy? Run, red flags. And the women say, oh, this is so relatable. You must be in your luteal phase. I have 2 more dates coming up this week, I think. Maybe something good will happen.
This dude in the comments said, my marriage got so much better once I started being a jerk and cheating on her. Good grief. Good grief. Another dude said he definitely dodged a cruise missile here. She will end up with who she deserves.
The sisterhood seems to need a reality check, so I guess I'll be the one to give it to you. First of all, you're not desirable. Let's start there. You have horrible attitudes and you behave like animals. Not to mention your own men don't want you, and when they do sleep with you, they leave you, and you breed destruction because your womb is cursed. You care more about aesthetic and Gucci, Louis, and Prada than you care about your children and making sure your children can read, and at the very least, making sure they're safe. This is why they're laid out in the streets. And do I have to add that your children are killing each other? Amazing. Y'all are the main ones that promote dysfunction. You support Sexy Red as she sell your children yellow discharge and gonorrhea lip glosses. Do I need to continue? And then you have the nerve to complain about black men when you're the ones that's raising them. And when they raise children by themselves, they do a hell of a better job than you do. And then you have the nerve to shame black men when you guys are doing God knows what for money behind closed doors. You're poisoning their children. And you are just dysfunctional all the way around. And the fact that you think that your aesthetic changes your mentality is amazing. And if you just see how you and your children act on social media, in the real world, just all the way around, it is disgusting because you are disgusting. And do I have to mention that you guys lead in everything that is negative? STDs, abortion, obesity, single motherhood. And you think you're smarter than everybody else when you're the dumbest group in America. And y'all swear everyone wants to be like y'all, but y'all just really want to be like white women, which you will never be.
You behave like animals is a crazy statement. But of course, modern women are not going to like this at all.
So why does dating feel almost impossible for men in 2025?
Dating feels almost impossible for a lot of men in 2025 because, you look at the average guy. The average guy isn't getting matches on dating apps. He's not getting stopped or, getting a lot of affection from women in his daily life. He probably doesn't have a whole lot of friends. And so he's online and he's seeing all of these gorgeous women, some of whom aren't even real with AI now. There's a lot of AI girls out there, edited photos and stuff like that. And they're just suffering this constant barrage of them feeling inadequate by what their life experience is teaching them versus what they're seeing online, which is like a lot of, attractive women or couples or stuff like that. So they just kind of feel beaten down by it, and it really does suck being the average guy who isn't taking control of their life in today's day and age. There's absolutely no sympathy for them. But the good news is that if you do choose to rise above this and do choose to actually start bettering yourself and start doing the things that is going to give you a result with women, then it can be possible to be successful. And the bar is pretty low because most guys don't try. Most guys just, wallow in self-pity, and they take themselves out of the dating market because they think that it's not worth it for them. But in reality, I don't care who I'm talking to. If you're watching this, you absolutely can change your circumstance.
I saw a video earlier and it was talking about go get dressed up and go to your grocery store so that you can go find a man. And I don't know who else needs to hear this, but that's not how it works anymore. I don't know if that's how it ever worked. So if you want to go to the grocery store all dressed up and waste your time, then yeah. Or if you want to be picked up by a 70-year-old man, yeah. Go to the grocery store dressed up, but that's not how dating works anymore.
I mean, if a dude tells you this is where I'm going to be after you're saying where are all the good men at, that might be a clue of where they're going to be at.
To be honest, I'm getting more and more frustrated with the dating advice I'm receiving from women on this app, which is a weird thing to say, but I don't know, this trend of sprinkle, if he wanted to, he would. If he doesn't text you back in this amount of time, he doesn't want to. If he wants you, you will know it. All of that feels like there's all of these extra steps I'm being taught to defend my worth. All of these things, these extra things that I have to do to defend my worth that a man doesn't have to do, which just insinuates that my worth cannot stand on its own. It actually is having the adverse effect by saying, a man will never value me like that. And it always is a generalization, but it just makes me feel worthless. And I know it's actually having an effect on me because it's infecting my talking stages with women, genuinely. And I don't know, it's something I need to work on, and I'm not letting it hurt me anymore. But guys, by saying all men cheat, and I know you mean it as a generalization, you're almost, the way that you're talking about it is insinuating that men cheating is a biological trait. It's a condition of the male species. And by doing that, you're putting all the blame on me. You're acting like a woman will never be worth enough, which is kind of counterintuitive, but that's how it feels, right? You're acting like cheating and male infidelity is not a systemic issue because of the way that they're taught to treat women. You're acting like it's not something that is their responsibility to fix, and it is. It completely is. And as someone who's never been in a relationship, you're making me not believe in love anymore. It's not gonna work because, I'm a lover girl, but guys, I want to and I don't. And I know that people that I've been with want me and don't know how to show it, or our lines are crossed. You're also, by saying you will know if a man wants you, you're underestimating how much I do not believe that anybody could ever want me. And that's something that I gotta work on. That's a problem. And I know how to stop that train of thought, but you can tell me point blank over and over and over again and do all these actions to convince me you want me. It's not gonna work. And look at the wizard Liz, didn't she say that dude showed her how much he wanted her? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know what that reference was, but yeah, it's kind of annoying. And I just think, oh, the other thing I wanted to say is there was a woman who kind of inspired this thing for me. I don't know her ad, but she was talking about how this dating content is the red pill content of women. And while it seems radically feminist, it is actually a conservative trend. And that's my point, is I'm not defending men. I'm not. I just think that there are all these underlying factors in this conservative trend of the world. Like, this is not helpful. We need to understand what we are ingraining within ourselves. And I don't think all of the people posting this content are doing it not just some of them are just doing it for entertainment's sake because it gets clicks, right? And I eat it up because it is entertaining. And I don't think all of the women doing this are conservative. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying we need to think about this before we say it. And it's not offensive, men. Do not come in my comments thinking I'm defending you. I'm not. I've been treated like there's a trend of treating women like there always has been, but guys, like, social media is making it so much worse.
Somebody in the comments said they're rebranding alpha male content for women and it doesn't work. That's not a man's fault. Y'all just give terrible advice. Y'all are saying stupid stuff. And this woman is caught in the crossfire, as are all modern women. But you think they're going to admit that? No.
I don't really get attracted to men. I just get attracted when they do something for me.
You should not be dating them. Like, I'm sorry, but it sounds like there's some self-discovery to be done. And this is so funny because this is what so many people specifically accuse men of doing. And this is why I like Wizard Liz, okay? She's gonna say the quiet part out loud. And she goes on to say that because she didn't have a father, she's kind of looking for that in a partner, which, yes, dad stuff. Like, you can't even escape the daddy issues when they don't have a father. Like, how do you want to date someone you've never met? But anyways, I'm not gonna lie, I'm more focused on the I'm not attracted to men part. I think you need to focus on that, unpack that, and find out what that means for you. Because it's like, if you're not attracted to men, why were you getting engaged to a man? Why did you get pregnant by a man? And this is not me saying I don't believe that she's not attracted to men. I 100% believe that. I know she's not the only woman who feels like that, but I'm saying this is such a common thing that a lot of people need to unpack rather than just pushing through it. How many times have we seen women post like, men just aren't attractive, Like, we talk about men being secretly gay all the time, which again, I know not being attracted to men doesn't mean inherently gay, but like, men aren't actually attracted to women, it's a secret, blah, 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 they're DO, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, look at this, and look at many such cases of people feeling this exact same way. And what does it sound like? You know what I mean?
At some point in time, this woman she's got to get off the internet. She needs to go heal somewhere.
All right, here's my hot, spicy take while I'm driving, stuck in traffic, is that when I was younger, I always thought, man, like, all the good men are taken. Now that I'm, like, in my late 30s, that's something that I'm, like, reframing, that thought of all good men are taken, because obviously women, any man could just, like, pick a woman and they'll be amazing. And then, of course, like, the ratio is just off. So obviously they're all, like, married now. But what I'm realizing is that actually a lot of those guys probably settled. And like, they hit 30s, they got married, and they're like, all right, this is it. And so it's funny now thinking about that, because I used to be like, man, there's just no good guys out there. And on the contrary, which is so crazy, because I am not here to like defend men at all, but I'm like, wow, that is a bold statement coming from me. What a 180 turnaround, thinking like these men. And I always talk about like the concept of settling, the act of settling, just like how I see it every single day in so many aspects, whether it's career, it's marriage, it's like even yourself. Self-abandonment is like a huge thing. So that was kind of like a tidbit that don't fall into the scarcity mindset that everybody's already taken, there's no hope. There actually is a lot of hope. From somebody very cynical about love, I'm like, wow, this is a realization I'm coming towards. Just meeting a lot of people, talking to a lot of people, and maybe I'm on the side of TikTok where the illusion of what marriage is kind of breaking a little bit. So it's been interesting.
Somebody in the comments said, good men are typically more structured, disciplined, and predictable. Therefore, they don't provide the same excitement and dopamine hit that a toxic guy will. Just the way it works. Facts.
If you marry and you're a woman and you say your husband does everything, he's a great guy, and you just don't want to be with him, I feel like you're too freaked out. That's what I feel like. I feel like you want something else because you didn't say that. You didn't say anything of the sorts on the internet, that he's pleasing you in that way, you didn't say that. I feel like you got eyes somewhere else and you have needs that cannot be met with a regular person. Like, I don't know, that's just me. I feel like any woman that comes on the internet and they cry about how they don't want to be married anymore, and they start upping their spouse and telling us, oh, my husband does this and that, he's a great guy, he's literally like an angel from God, and you're just like, I just can't be with him no more. Like, at this point, you're nasty. Like, the stuff that gets you aroused is beyond humans. That's just where I'm going at it. Because there's no way, like, you're telling me your husband is a perfect guy, you have a perfect family, everything's perfect, and you want to leave him? It's giving you're cheating. It's giving you're cheating on him. It's giving you want to cheat on him. And you want to cheat on him with something nasty. You want to do some nasty stuff. You got a nasty itch that nobody can scratch. And you may just think about scratching it yourself.
Did I just take an everything shower? Yes, I did. Why, you asked? Because my husband has been gone for a literal week. And when I tell you I'm about to do the worst of the worst things to that man as soon as he walks through that front door, I don't understand the women who are like, I love when my husband goes out of town. Ugh, I need a break from that man. Please leave. I miss my husband as soon as he leaves to go check the mail or to go get packages or to run to the store. Like, the fact that he's been gone for a literal week, I feel like part of me is missing. And I also don't understand the women. Actually, depends on what type of man you're married to. I personally don't understand the women who are like, stay away from me. No, I'm not in the mood. I'm too tired. I have a headache. I have never, in the 11 years that I've been with my man, my husband, father of my children, have ever rejected that man. Anytime he wants it, baby, I want it too. Give it to me.
The New York Times article recently published about the phenomenon known as man keeping. We need to just set fire to every copy of that issue of the New York Times humanly possible, and then just abolish this term from your vocabulary. You could be Clint Eastwood or Richard Simmons. Those were men's only two choices. It's the reason why men delete themselves at a level 10 times more often than women do. So the reality is, like, we heard you. We heard you when you said, men, talk to us, open up to us and to each other. Use your words. We heard you. To now turn around and say that you are doing the emotional labor of listening to us talk to you and confide in you and share intimacies with you about the things we're feeling is the cruelest thing you could possibly do to men right now.
The New York Times, man, I think maybe them and the Wall Street Journal sometimes, they just be making up stuff, just stupid stuff. I don't know who they allowing to write for their columns and their articles.
I took your advice and I was entertaining this old man because for some reason I've been an unk magnet, and y'all told me that if you ask a man for something, he'll leave you alone. So I was like, you know what? I don't have much experience talking to men, so let me go ahead and entertain this to sharpen those skills. So yesterday I was out at an event, and of course Unk walked up to me talking about something. He seen I had this little plate and this little dessert, whatever. He was like, you wasn't gonna get me nothing? Huh? What? I don't know this man. First, I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't hear him, so I said, huh? He said, you wasn't thinking about me, you wasn't gonna get me none. So I said, I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even know you. Like, I said, no, I was thinking about me. Then I started thinking about y'all, and I said, let me do a little social experiment. If I ask him for something, then he'll either do it or he'll leave me alone, and a win is a win. So I was like, you know what? But you can go get me another one. Mid-conversation. He said, you wasn't thinking about me? I said, no, I was thinking about me, but you can go get me another one. I honestly thought he was going to leave me alone after that. But he was like, okay, let me know when you're ready. I'll take you over there and get you another one. I didn't even know what to say next. Like I told y'all, I don't be talking to men. I don't have no wrist. I didn't know what to say next. I said, okay. I wasn't expecting to get this far. And when he turned his head, I left. Because one, this was a social experiment. I don't want no smoke. I don't want what comes with whatever that is. So I just walked away. But then I was like, okay, it's not that hard. I mean, maybe I just got lucky. And then after I marinated on it, I said I should have asked him for some money for real. I should have said, give me some money.
A social experiment, one where you're not good socially. You have no social skills. Most modern women literally do not have any social skills at all.
Clearly the apps aren't working for me right now or for like anyone, so I'm making it my mission tonight to speak to one guy that I would be interested in, just one, out in public in the wild. You would think this wouldn't be that big of a deal or that difficult, but
yeah, so a little update on that. I did go up to someone. I actually went up to a bartender at my favorite bar, mistake number one, and I got his number, and then we chatted back and forth for a day, and then we were about to make plans, and then he ghosted me. So this is why I don't go up to men.
A dude in the comments said, congrats on experiencing what dudes have been going through for decades. Facts.
Calling something performative is such a critical thinking cop-out because all of social behavior is performative. But this isn't recognized as performative as this is. I get that it's a joke, right? Haha, funny, boy drinks drink that only girls drink, boy listens to girl music. But here's the thing. Performative is used often as a blanket term for men doing anything even remotely linked to emotional depth. Of course, that is because it's seen as a gendered feminine trait, but that's a video of its own. But if you see a man reading or journaling in public and immediately assume it's performative and not representative of the true spirit, that could mean that you believe the display of emotional intelligence in men can only be done in either bad faith or with the intention of deceit, which gets pretty sticky when you, alongside most women, including me, are very vocal about how we want men to be emotionally complex, intelligent, and politically aware. It is counterproductive to socially punish costumes that signal the very pro-social traits that you desire, solely because you think it can't be true. Listen, even if this is two-dimensional, it's a more benevolent charade than the Andrew Tate bro. Even if it is inauthentic, it communicates that traits that are typically perceived as feminine, so emotional intelligence, consuming the arts, investing in self-expressive clothing, are good to have and show as a man, which they are. This is a step in a positive direction, but adding something aversive like videotaping it in public and calling it cringe could halt that change. I feel like especially now we should be very intentional about our reaction to things that we see as taboo in case it unintentionally stagnates progress. Like, it could be bad to indirectly suggest that men should not consume media that is for the girls. Just my thought though.
You know, with modern women roaming around here, I've got to say, and I'm sorry to say this, one of the best skills a man has been able to not only develop, but maintain is emotional discreetness, emotional silence, an emotional cloak, never letting somebody know your next move, never letting somebody know how you feel. Because these modern women, even on the look of it, even on the base of it, even on surface value, they don't care. They're looking at it and saying, oh, he ain't nothing. Oh, look at him trying to read. He trying to read something. He ain't reading nothing. That don't mean nothing. Stupid. Therapy ain't working. It ain't working.
I will never shoot my shot. I will never, ever shoot my shot again. I will never do it. Never, ever again. Ever.
This morning I was just straight up rude. I was straight up rude to my husband. He came up behind me while I was trying to kind of frantically get ready for church because we woke up an hour late, and he tried to give me a hug for the second time, and I was like, if you touch me, I'm gonna lose my mind. That's what I said, and I said it kind of rude. And then he got upset, understandably so, and left the room, and I continued to get ready, and I felt like he should know better. Like, I don't want to be blah, 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 blah. I'm like, he knows I'm stressed for church, yada, 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 yada. And then in my head, I'm like, ugh, the enemy just loves to sow division on a Sunday morning. And then I was like, girl, actually, it probably wasn't me. It was probably the Holy Spirit. It was the Holy Spirit convicting me and being like, so does your flesh, girl. That wasn't the enemy. That wasn't the enemy. That was you. And it made me think, sometimes I think as Christians, it's so easy to be like, the enemy, dude. The enemy. That was the enemy. And in reality, it was us. It kind of let me like pass off my own sin and my own meanness. That's not a word, whatever. My own anger and pride and frustration. I just got to pass it off to the enemy and blame it on him. Which he actually probably did love, because then I was living in like an unrepentant sin state of like not taking responsibility for the thing that I did. So yeah, this is my reminder to you. Don't blame the enemy for what your own flesh did. I mean, like, in the end of the, like, our flesh is also kind of the enemy, yada, yada, yada. You could go on. Yeah, okay.
Well, at least you took accountability, but I'm hoping that you took that accountability into the room with him and you apologized. One of the worst things that I probably experienced is being upset before a service or a special occasion where you're in a good mood, but the other person is just not having it that day for whatever reason. You didn't do anything wrong, and they try to throw that attitude onto you. And then they'd be like, modern women be like, oh man, you did this. I didn't do anything. You just had a bad attitude and you need to apologize. A responsible woman will come back and say, my bad. I don't know what was going on with me, but my attitude was not it.
You're my homeboy, but you're still a man, so there are things that I expect from you, even though we're not in a romantic relationship. Let's get to it. Number one, if you are in the car with me while I'm getting gas, you are pumping my gas. I don't know why that one's controversial.
I'm gonna stop you right there. As a female friend, you get 0 special privileges. 0. You're the homie. You're the same thing as my homeboy at this point in my life. You understand what I'm saying? Just because you're a girl doesn't mean I'm gonna treat you any differently than my homeboy. If I'm in the car with my homeboy and he pulls up to get gas, am I pumping the gas? No. What are you talking about? You can't expect me to treat you like the homeboy, but then also treat you like my girl. Like, I'm not doing that. This is what I'm talking about when I say women don't view men as human beings. They view them as, women put men in 2 categories, okay? 3 categories. You're either their father, their servant, or you don't exist. Those are the only options you got for women. You're either their father, their servant, or you simply don't exist in their reality.
The real reason why a lot of y'all are upset about this woman not taking that coffee date is really because y'all feel like men are supposed to introduce you to new experiences every time that y'all go out, or anytime that you meet somebody new, you feel like you have to have a brand new experience with him. What is wrong with getting coffee with somebody? But at the same time, you want to accept a $25 meal. There's really no difference, boo. There's no difference.
Really, at some point in time, I want these women to be open to switching it up. The man asks you on a coffee date, do you like coffee? Go on a coffee date. If you don't like coffee, just say, well, I really don't like coffee. Oh, well, they have other stuff there. They have teas. They have refreshers. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Let's go. Or if you say, man, I really don't like any of the stuff at the coffee date. Man, I'll tell you a story about it. But I would like to go to, you like golf? Yeah, I like golf. Okay, cool. That's a spirit of collaboration. That's a spirit of problem solving. Because once again, remember, the man doesn't know you. So he's sitting there guessing stuff. And he doesn't actually even know what you want. And you'll sit there with your mouth closed like a loser and wonder why the man can't connect with you.
So I made a video and I talked about how you shouldn't be strung along with a man for years if you desire marriage and if you are of a certain age, right? They're tearing me up in the comments, right? Whatever. That water underneath the bridge. But one of the most comments I've seen, the most common comment I've seen is that how can you get to know someone in a year? How can you not get to know someone in a year? Like, are y'all having conversations with this person? Like, are y'all going on dates? Are you actually having meaningful conversations? Are you asking him meaningful questions? How do you not know someone within a year? Why is a year not long enough to get to know someone? No one can truly mask themselves that well. Even an actor couldn't even do that. They're always going to slip up with the tiniest answer to a question, the tiniest action. It could be you in the car, he does something, or you in the house, he does something. They're always going to slip up. No one can hide their true selves for that long. And then furthermore, if you don't know this man, you can't get to know a man for after a year. Why are you letting him inside of you?
I'm telling you, man, most of these modern women, they're not smart, man. I'm sorry to say it like that. They are just not smart. They can't follow any kind of context clues. They need somebody to spoon feed them. That's why they say you need to come with good, clean, effective communication. Because I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I want you to read my mind, but there's no way that you can read my mind or my body language because I don't have any self-awareness. So I don't know what my body looks like. I don't know what it says. I don't know what my eyes, my face, my mouth. I don't know any of it. I don't know what my nonverbal cues are telling you. I understand that you're confused, but I don't know why you're confused because I have no self-awareness again. So I'm not sure what's going on here. I have no idea.
Women, we may not necessarily all have a lot in common. We're complex individuals, nuanced. But there's one thing I can tell you for sure. No woman wants to hear whatever you want. You pick whatever you want. No, I don't want to do the emotional, mental labor of picking anything, okay? You pick, and then I'll tell you if I don't like it, and you can pick again until we get to something I like. And it's really that simple. I won't be picking. I don't want to pick.
So you don't want to do it. You don't want to cooperate. You don't want to collaborate. You want to be intellectually lazy.
I was just at the gym and this guy kept staring and just looking over and smiling at me and just making eyes at me the entire time. Mind you, this is the same man that I saw when I was walking towards the gym in the morning. And not only did he rush past me, which, you know, I gave him the benefit of the doubt at the time. I was like, okay, maybe he's going to open the door for me. That's a good sign, right? No, this dude rushes past me, opens the door, walks in, not even holding it open for me, not even looking back to see if the door is going to hit me in the face. Like, that is so unattractive. Not only if you're trying to hit on a girl, just as a general note, being a man, not opening the door for a woman, like, you know, your mom, your sister, your friend, a stranger that is walking behind you, like, that to me, I just don't understand this new 2025 mentality of men. It's like they take pride in being nonchalant. It's like they take pride in not having to open the door for a woman. Like, you should not take pride in that. That's actually embarrassing, in my view. You're a grown-ass adult, and you still think that's okay. I don't know. It's not like you had a chance, buddy. I'm taken. I'm not interested. But I'm just thinking about other girls you're probably going to hit on or stare at the gym. Like, trust me, that is not a flex. Food for thought.
Y'all talk trash, all the trash in the world, and still can't understand why men have stopped messing with y'all.
At some point, every girl is going to experience her first good guy, and he's not to be confused with your soulmate because he's usually not your soulmate.
I left the man that I loved for the man that I deserve.
They're looking for the One Piece. It didn't even click in my brain until I watched. They're looking for the One Piece. Of course. They heard Whitebeard. They heard Goldie Roger say the One Piece is real. They're looking for the One Piece. It makes sense.
Are you a guy who is afraid to approach women in public and shoot your shot because you don't want to come off as a creep? I am here with a PSA on behalf of all of us women, nice women in public who are trying to find, you know, a good match somewhere, and Hinge is not cutting it. So, number one, it's okay to be worried about coming off as a creep, because I'm sure if you're a guy that's very respectful and has a lot of female friends, you've heard stories from them about being approached by creeps. And so when you hear those stories, I think, and this is just me guessing, but I would guess that it's kind of making you more and more resistant to approaching a woman in public, because you're like, God, that sounds horrible. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to make someone uncomfortable like that. Well, let me tell you how to approach without making someone uncomfortable. So number one, open with a fun question. Opening with just a hi, hello, you know, it tends to get people to put their guard up because they're kind of like, what's coming next? What do you want? Are you about to say something really creepy to me? So if you open with a fun question, it automatically sets up the conversation as being a friendly one. And so if she engages, you could tell that she's interested in talking to you. One, if she engages, it doesn't necessarily mean that she's interested in you. But what it does mean is that she's down for a fun convo, and then suss out the vibes, you know, once the ice is broken and you've been chatting a little bit more. And I can make another video about how to suss out those vibes. But today we're talking about how to open it up. And so one, start with a fun question. So one of my favorite ways to open it up, and I've done this on guys myself, and not gonna lie, it's worked like 100% of the time. One, just say, my friend and I were having a debate about XYZ, and I need someone on my side to tell him that he's wrong. Or say, I need another person to weigh in. This is fun, this is playful, it's competitive, and it invites good conversation. So you are gonna wanna choose silly, fun topics for these debates. And some examples, and feel free to steal these directly, are, is a hot dog really a sandwich? Or Aren't pancakes and waffles technically the same food because they're made out of the same batter? Those are just generic ones, but make it anything you want. And you can tell that she wants to talk to you if she replies in a way that shows she's engaged. So one of those signs is eye contact. The second sign would be passionate opinion in either direction. If she just says, I don't know, and turns away, she's not interested. And that's a shot missed, but guess what? Shoot or shoot. And you don't make any of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. So get out there and start shooting, boys. We want you to, okay? We really want you to.
They like to say all this stuff when it's not them taking a shot.
A friend of mine and I were discussing dating and how he's like the sweetest guy ever, but like many of the sweetest guys ever, he has absolutely no leads. His romantic life is super dry. He's the biggest giver in the world, way beyond reason, and receives absolutely nothing. He lives in line with the formula of just crashing and burning in all of his interests and crushes. He leads with romance, unwarranted romance. Now pause. In an ideal world where we actually put this type of behavior on a pedestal, where being very thoughtful and kind and loving from the get-go, if that were valued, this friend of mine would be destroying all of you. He would be the Chad in this domain. However, that's not what we value. And so he's the chode. And we were talking the other night about dating strategies, and he was saying like he can't really do the dating apps, and I relate to that wholeheartedly because he's a real ass. So when he likes someone, he wants to feel that switch flip. When you're on a dating app scrolling, your switch is hardly engaged for people like us, like the romantic people who are feeling into this world deeply. So the dating app canceled. And then when it comes to real life things like chance encounters, serendipity, his argument was, I can't go talking to every single beautiful girl and woman that I see. If I do that, I'm going to be talking all day long. Like, I'll get nothing done. And I said, well, I agree, but that's something where we differ, because I too love beautiful women. I really do. I really do. Like, tap me in, brother, you and me both. But the difference is that because I care about results, my instincts are far more attuned. So I don't just see beautiful women and think, yes, 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 no. And maybe I have a privilege of also being a woman, so I'm also on the inside, I'm on the interior, where I'm not othering beautiful women as much as probably like the average guy is. I'm seeing other beautiful women and able to appreciate them on a different type of level of womanhood. But when it comes to being queer, they're also the women who do fit my type, my archetype, and they will turn my head. But I've learned that that's not enough. That's not enough, because I know what I'm attracted to. And the looks someone possesses, it's just the clickbait. It's the clickbait where, click further, I want to learn who's behind the looks, what's inside, what is the character. And what my friend was saying, the guy, the sweetheart, like he needs to hang out with someone, like two hangouts for like multiple hours before he's figured out if this is a connection or someone he wants to open up to. And while I know that's valid, and a lot of people share this sentiment because I see it in my TikTok comments, I'm not afflicted with this, because I've really trained my instincts, because I care about my results. I've learned to identify someone in very early moments of talking to them, identifying that I'm gonna probably like them just by developing a hypothesis. Like, just because they said something they said something a certain way, or if they simply held their posture and moved, like they gesticulated in a type of way, I could just know, like, there's something about your essence that I find to be really interesting. And then that's when I lock in. It's like when the colors of reality become just that much more saturated, because I too love romance. I too love the attention from beautiful women. I love it so much that I'm going to really feel a sense of urgency when my instincts flare up. And so I'm not looking at beautiful women all day long being like, yes, 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 yes. No, it's just noise. It's just noise. It's just reality. It's like birds chirping. But then every once in a while, rarely, frankly, because my instincts are that attuned to a very specific type of person, there's someone where there's a saturation, like, and it doesn't take much for me to figure out who they are, again, just based on how they say something, the way they say something, the way they move their body, the way they exist in a pause, a look in their eyes. It's really easy for me to tell. And I was trying to explain this to my friend. I said, listen, dude, like, you really just have to work on your instincts. But part of that requires you actually dialing in and figuring out very honestly, being very honest with yourself about what you are interested in, and then developing a hypothesis around someone and trusting your instincts, your gut feeling, to lean in and focus on that person and actually invite a connection with that person.
So basically what I heard at the start there was he was a simp. He was a simp. He was too nice. And people took advantage of that. I would like to ask, what does that say about them?
All right, fellas, I am back with another public apology. And this one is on behalf of all the women out there in the world that has put that unnecessary pressure and that unrealistic expectation on you that you had to be 6 feet or taller. Because the reality check that I had, I was like, oh my God, this is kind of fun. So I'm sitting at the bar and I'm having my lunch, my soup, my salad, and a good cocktail. And of course, I'm minding somebody else's business because I'm eavesdropping on a conversation. And there's two young men at the end of the bar. And they are talking about their boob preference. They are talking about what size they like. And of course, now my ears are really tuned into the street. So one of the guys was like, oh no, if she's smaller than a C cup, I can't with it. Like, I just gotta have bigger than a C cup. And he gave no explanation behind it. So I immediately looked down and I was like, damn, I'm an A+ shorty and I'm a good woman. Why do you have this unrealistic expectation that my tat to be touching the floor? Because baby, it's a no. And then I thought to myself, I was like, damn, that's how stupid them be sounding when they be talking about that man got to be 6 feet or taller. That man cannot control that unless he go get some type of enhancements. And so then I immediately had to sit down and try to figure out, why do we say that we want a man to be 6 feet? And I think for me personally, I don't need him to be 6 feet or taller. I just want him to feel bigger than me. I want to feel smaller. It's a sense of covering and protection that I'm looking for. It's a certain level of masculinity in your aura that I want to feel. So when I'm around you, I feel smaller and like I could cuddle. It's not that you got to be 6 feet, but I'm here to say we sorry. We don't mean that. We mean something totally different. And we made y'all feel like that y'all wasn't unless you was 6 feet or taller. We sorry.
Men understand that. I'm glad you finally figured it out. But men understand that you want to feel safe and protected. That's why a lot of dudes go to the gym. That's why you have security systems. That's why you have reassurance. You have deterrence that men set up around the house to make sure that you do feel safe. That's why he goes and gets the car checked for you. He goes out and gets gas for you. And the little things. He's not, a lot of times a man's not doing it because, you know, he just, I don't want to say he loves you so much. A part of his love is making sure that you're secure, right? So a lot of the stuff that he does outside of being like big and tall or his size is trying to make sure that you feel safe, that you feel welcome, that you feel like you belong in the space. That's why men continue to provide structure. That's why men continue to build things. That's why men continue to innovate, because they understand that the world keeps evolving and there are always new threats. And so in order to keep in front of those threats, the only thing that you can do is stay as best as you can ahead of change, right? And so you just get the benefits. You're coming behind that and saying, oh, it's changed. When you walk in the house, he's got some, oh, babe, what is this? Oh man, it's just a little something for you, right? Might be something to help you. Might be something to help you keep safe. Might be something to help you feel like you're loved. That's all a part of a man's protection and provision and his security for you. His guidance is actually protection for you. When he gives you instruction, when he says don't go nowhere, over here like this, don't drive that, don't be out with these friends, don't go to this place with them, don't say this, don't wear that, don't post this. That's what he's doing.
I'm not gonna
gonna lie to you, I kind of understand the girl that said she didn't want to do a coffee date for the first date. I don't even like coffee. What are we gonna do if we go there? Get a matcha? I don't want to go on a coffee date, and I think that's perfectly fine. I feel like coffee dates are low effort and low cost, and I feel like that's why men like to do them. But I feel like if you really did like me, why not at least do like a low cost date that's high effort? Something that you know I would like an outdoor movie, or a picnic, or a museum. We could go look at art for free $99. Like, it doesn't have to be crazy, but it's just like, I feel like coffee doesn't imply intention or effort to me, especially given the fact that I don't like coffee. And I feel like that should be okay. She just didn't want to go out on a coffee date.
Once again, these women suck. I'm just gonna say it like that. They suck at dating. They darn near suck at life. They suck at it. They're trash at it. I don't even like coffee. I used to work at Starbucks. They have refreshers. They have teas. They have more than coffee. They have sodas. They have water. They have juice. They have smoothies. They have cakes, pastries, pops, bagels. They have sandwiches. Almost quite. And then they rolled out. I don't know if they still do this at Starbucks. I don't know if it worked, but they had like a nighttime menu when I was there, and they rolled out kind of like wine and like little flatbreads and stuff like that. Basically, you come there and you get your wine, and then you get your whatever it is to pair well with the wine and stuff like that. They roll that out, so you could possibly get something like that. You guys, your mind is just so warped. I don't know what shows you're watching. I don't know who you're running into, but this is just a terrible loser mentality.